Hey, good morning, y'all. So this morning we want to talk about the favor of the Lord, which is a divine advantage for those that have it. The favor of the Lord is an extraordinary blessing that sets a person apart, opening doors that no man can shut and granting divine assistance in ways that surpass human ability. It is the supernatural influence of God that brings honor, provision, and protection to his people. The favor of the Lord is not something that can be earned through works alone, but it is given by his grace to those who walk uprightly before him. One of the clearest examples of God's favor in the Bible is the story of Joseph. Joseph was sold into slavery by his jealous brothers and taken to Egypt, where he was bought by Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Though his circumstances seemed bleak, the favor of the Lord was upon him and began to prosper in all that he did. And remember, God gave him dreams in the beginning. He gave him dreams, and his brothers were jealous because he saw them bowing to him. Genesis 39, 2-4 says, "And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord had made all that he did prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. And he made him an overseer over his house, and all that he had put his hand to." Even when Joseph was falsely accused and thrown into prison, God's favor did not leave him. Instead, he was elevated again, eventually interpreting Pharaoh's dream and rising to become the second most powerful man in Egypt. Maybe you're in a waiting season. Maybe the favor of the Lord is preparing you for what door he's going to have you walk through. Genesis 41, 39-41. "And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over the land of Egypt." Joseph's life is a testament to how the favor of the Lord operates. Even in the lowest valleys, God's favor lifted him up. The favor of the Lord brings promotion, influence, and provision, even in a most unlikely circumstances. How can we walk in the favor of the Lord? So how do we earn his favor? Or what do we do to get it? Well, God's favor is a gift, and we need to ask for it. There are ways to align ourselves to receive it. Obedience to God's word. Deuteronomy 28, 1-2 promises blessings to those who obey God's commandments. That's one thing that's going to bring a lot of goodness is obeying his commandments and remembering his Sabbath to keep it holy. Faithfulness in trials. Joseph remained faithful despite his hardships, and in due time, he was elevated. Seeking God's presence. Psalms 5:12 says, "For thou, Lord, wilt bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him as with a shield." So God is our protective shield. He is our mighty protector. He covers us. The favor of the Lord is a shield, a promotion, and a provision. When his favor is upon someone, even their enemies cannot stop the plans he has for their life. Joseph's story is proof that God's favor is not dependent on circumstances, but on his divine purpose. So God had it planned out what his purpose was. The favor of the Lord, a modern story for divine blessing. David Carter had always been an honest, hardworking man. He grew up in a rough neighborhood where opportunities were scarce. But when he was raised by his praying grandmother, who was always... I apologize. Let me start over. David Carter had always been an honest, hardworking man. He grew up in a rough neighborhood where opportunities were scarce. But he was raised by a praying grandmother who always told him, "Son, when God's favor is on your life, no man can stand in your way." David clung to those words, even when life seemed to suggest otherwise. He worked long hours at a small accounting firm, doing his best to provide for his family. But despite his diligence, he was constantly overlooked for promotions. He watched as others with less experience advanced ahead of him. He felt invisible until the favor of the Lord stepped in. One day, the CEO of a major corporation visited his firm for a routine audit. David, as always, worked with integrity and excellence, ensuring that every detail was in place. The CEO took notice of his work ethic and asked him a few questions. Impressed by his knowledge and character, he asked David if he had ever considered working for a larger company. David hesitated. He had no advanced degrees and no connections, and no reason to believe that he could land a higher position at such a prestigious company. But the CEO saw something in him. "There's something different about you," the CEO said. "You have a wisdom that can't be taught in school. I want you on my team." Within weeks, David was offered a senior position with a salary 5 times what he was making. People around him were stunned. Some colleagues were bitter, questioning how he had gotten ahead so quickly. But David knew the answer: the favor of the Lord. Biblical confirmation of favor. What does it look like? David's story mirrors the biblical principle found in Psalm 75, 6-7. "For promotion cometh neither from the east nor from the west, nor from the south, but God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another." Like Joseph, David was faithful in the small things. And at the appointed time, God's favor opened a door that no man could shut. It was not his qualifications or background that positioned him for success. It was God's hand upon his life. The favor of the Lord does not mean a life without struggle. I just want you to know that, most of all. It means that even in struggle, God's presence is with you, guiding your steps, elevating you in his perfect timing, and ensuring that what he has planned for you will come to pass. When God's favor is on your life, you don't have to chase opportunities. They will find you. And I can guarantee, I've seen this more and more over and over throughout my life, the favor of the Lord. I remember when I was younger, a lot of the people used to think that I was cursed by the Lord. I'll tell you that I've been through more trials and tribulations than I would ever care to discuss. But the outcome at the end of that trial and tribulation turned out to be favorable for me. God's hand, you could see, was always upon me. In dark moments and times, there was always a way of escape. He always made a way. Now, some people think the favor of the Lord means riches. And he just spoke to me and said, that's not true. That's not what that always means. It's not always about money. Most of all, it's about character. It's about character. It's about blessings. It's about being mindful and walking in the straight path of the Lord. And then whatever you ask, God leans in and wants to give because he loves his children. And what greater gift would the Father give? When we draw close to him, he draws close to us. Do you want to have the favor of the Lord? Will you seek him in personal relationship? Will you seek his face? He is the mighty provider. And I will say this until I'm blue in the face. He is faithful to those that are his. And if you will seek the faithfulness of the Lord, he will shine his glory and favor upon you. I pray you'll go forth today, and I pray you will seek the favor of the Lord. And I say this in Yeshua's name. Bye-bye.